I have been in the longevity field for quite a while. I created the first longevity magazine for women 11 years ago. So I have been in for a long time and have seen the field grow. Right now I'm primarily focusing on bio-optimized leadership. It's a concept I've created that actually links leader and entrepreneur lifestyle with biological aging and individual and organizational performance. Because kind of one of the things that I believe is absolutely missing in this industry is how does it affect companies, how does it affect the bottom line? Because if companies don't realize that it's actually hitting them financially, they won't really do anything. And kind of seeing all the future trends, like aging population, basically countries running out of money for retirement, for healthcare, etc. Something needs to happen, and to just tell people, oh no, you know what, you need to work 10 years, 20 years longer, that's not the solution, especially not if kind of people are treated the same way as they are now with our sick care systems. So kind of traditional leadership development programs most of the time focus on basically the behavior of the leader, the interaction with their team members, and they ignore completely that the biological state of an entrepreneur, of a leader, actually impacts directly the employees. So like one of the things, for instance, that we see, and unfortunately there's not enough research yet, but one of the things we do see is, for instance, if a leader is biologically younger, he's more vital, or she is more vital, has more energy, and especially when you're getting like into 40s, 50s and beyond, you have such an amazing wisdom. And if you're cognitively well and can actually use that, then basically the people around you, your team, is almost mirroring you. So it has an impact on employee engagement, on innovativeness, on getting funding, on company growth, on so many things. And I don't understand why there's not more done. One of the things that is the most crucial is sleep. And if you think about how much, especially entrepreneurs, but also other leaders, skip sleep for different reasons, then of course it has an impact. Because sleep is when we're really rejuvenating ideally. And so it's really important to focus on that. And for instance, if you pull a one-nighter, there's research that shows that just one night can increase your brain age by 1 to 2 years. It is reversible, but if you keep doing this all the time, at some stage, it might not be reversible anymore. And this, for instance, like if you have poor sleep, that directly impacts like how you make decisions. It impacts the ability to actually spot business opportunities. And so there are a lot of things. So think about also, so sleep is one thing. One other thing, for instance, is that leaders often don't, let's say, do regularly is eat well. So, and that, has an impact on your metabolism. It has an impact on the energy that you have throughout the day, depending on what you eat. Kind of you might be, oh yes, it's going great, and then you crash. And if you have an important meeting at that time, negotiation or so, that's not great for your company. And there are quite a few things. And for instance, there's like if you think about an individual leader of a company, just like let's say a mid-sized company, a leader tends to have, like on average, if you think about a company, like they tend to have an average of like value creation, direct impact, like let's say 10 million for a mid-sized company over the year. Most leaders, entrepreneurs, tend to be 10 to 15 years biologically older than their chronological age. So that means that they perform worse. And so that even if it's just 10% worse, and it's actually more than that, but even if it's just that, if you actually bring it up to their chronological age or improve through bio-optimization, then you can massively improve. But even just 10%, that means per year an improvement in value creation of 1 million. And so that's short term. And then over 10 years, if you add, for instance, 10 healthy years, So it's like my MTP is like help 1 million leaders to be better now, but also to add 10 healthy, productive years. And so if you calculate it then over the next 10 years, I mean, if you add those 10 years, so it's like 10 plus that one. So in a way, it's like the value you create that you add is just absolutely massive. And it's completely underappreciated at the moment. The problem is that there's not enough research, and of course, because a lot of that, like we're too complicated, which is like, it's, yes, sure, like our hormones, it's a bit more challenging to do research, but so what? I mean, the value that kind of we can bring to society, to companies, is unbelievable. And you do see a lot of women in their 40s, 50s that decide, I don't want to have anything to do with that corporate life anymore because that does not suit my biology, but I can go off on my own and create tremendous value. So, I mean, ideally, it's like companies would actually use those amazing women to create more value within their organizations, but they're blind. They're totally blind. How did I get to it? I was creating mentoring programs and networks for women, for a European Professional Women's Network across Europe. And one thing that I kept hearing from women was like, they had all those different issues. I'm tired, my body is changing, I can't do anything about it, I don't know why. There were so many issues. And kind of basically what I kept hearing in my mind was like, yeah, I'm aging, but they didn't even realize that. So because I had been the editor-in-chief for the International Journal of Mentoring and Coaching, I was like, why not create a magazine? Because we need to inform. There is like doctors, either don't want to know, a lot of them, to be honest, but they do not get that right education to really focus on more preventative measures. In our sick care system, it's all about wait for 10, 20 years, like we don't measure you because like it's not so important. We only actually start caring about you, and then we care well about you, but we only start caring once you're actually sick, which is completely illogical and economically not meaningful at all. Everybody is unique. So, like my favorite, and I think it applies to a lot of people, is sleep. But so kind of one of the things, for instance, that I created is what I call the biological edge. So it's basically a free assessment to just in 3 minutes just have some idea of what might be the thing that might have the biggest impact on you. But then, like if you actually do want to dive deeper, I think it's important to really measure. So like one of the things, one of the things I do is like we have those audits where we look at things like genetics, then like biological age, we look at wearable data, lab tests, etc., to just see, okay, where are you? What are the predispositions potentially? And then kind of once you know that, then you can look at, okay, what is the lifestyle? What are the top 3 things that actually can really turn this around, can make the biggest impact? And then basically kind of what I want, what I do with a bio-optimized leadership model is to actually see, okay, how does that impact now, like your performance on a daily basis? How does that translate to the company, to the bottom line? And so I think, yes, sleep is something that everybody should work on because most people do have an issue with it. But at the end of the day, it's like, find out what is the one thing or those 3 things. One thing's already not bad. That actually makes the biggest difference. And then over time, you change things and get actually to improve overall. Because I think it's really important to go really small steps, one tiny step at a time, and improve. Because what a lot of people see and say is, oh, I can't do all this, it's too much and like too radically different. And that's not the point. The point is like really small steps. I want to see, oh, you start feeling better, then maybe you want to move more. And so it's basically you evolve over time, and you need to integrate it into your daily life. A lot of things make your life actually easier. I'm a huge tech fan. So my husband calls me a gadget woman. But I think what technology allows us is to measure and I think, as I just said, the measuring is super important because, like, even for me, so I had burned out before, and I had been measuring already, but then of course you always think you're different than everybody else. But one thing, for instance, I realized is I had lost touch with what, for instance, good sleep feels like. And seeing my data helped me to really understand a little bit more, and it gives me still until now an indication, okay, today is maybe a day where I should slow down a little bit and have a break, do meditation, have a nap, whatever it may be. And on other days, like, let's do stuff that's more exhausting, but actually challenging your body to actually improve over time. So measuring is one thing. And then the other thing is that with all the technology that's coming out now, it can help us to, like AI, indicate where can we improve. How can we, for instance, I'm a huge proponent as well, it's like put your lab tests into ChatGPT or another AI and ask all the questions you have, because most people still don't do that, and it's like it has become really good. Of course it's not perfect, but especially with like ChatGPT 5 now, it's kind of, they have put a lot more focus on trying to be as correct as possible in health, so that there are no false positives in a way, but trying to understand and ask all the questions, because the doctors don't have the time. They're not given the time by the system. So the more we understand, the better it is kind of that we can do for our bodies. And then we go into the doctor and say, okay, here, these are things. I mean, most doctors don't like that. Still, that is a challenge. But over time, they will need to adjust. So it is at the moment a question of pushing through. And then, of course, there's technology that actually helps us to impact what we do, that helps us to change. And that, like the first one at the moment that comes to my mind is like, for instance, PEMF-METs, pulse electromagnetic frequency. So, like, I had broke my elbow in January. So I used, like a PEMF-MET to improve kind of like the bone healing. I used red light therapy. So all the technology kind of we needed, from the creating the awareness, understanding, to actually treatments. They basically see an improvement in sleep. Normally, they tend to have more energy. They actually also feel like they can get more done. They actually do get more done, but they also feel like it. They are happier, so their mood also improves. And then that translates to they, as I said, get more stuff done, so they're more productive. Their employees, they tend to be happier as well, so employee engagement increases. They tend to be more innovative. They tend to spot more business opportunities and actually act accordingly, so because they're rested, they have all the energy they need. And what else? There are quite a lot of different things where it has an impact. We still need a lot more research, and any researcher who wants to work with me on that, please contact me, because I really think this is very, very important for all of us to understand the impact on the bottom line. Mm-hmm. Well, sleep is top. For me, sleep is something that I have been working on for 20 years. And I probably have that always as my priority, because for certain genetic predispositions, for instance, I know how important it is for me and for my biology. And I do love my infrared sauna. And I also love, like, I have been working out in virtual reality for I don't know how many years, a long time. So it's like basically since the Quest came out, which is a while ago, I have lost count of time. I've been exercising in virtual reality. It's a lot more fun, and it keeps me going, it keeps me motivated, and I've also been meditating in virtual reality. So kind of like these three things I love doing, and I think they really make a difference.